The SEO game is changing for dentists. Patients are now going to Chat-GPT asking how to brush their teeth, why their breath smells bad, and who's the best dentist near them that takes Delta Dental insurance and is family friendly. Yes, all in one search. While your practice may be ranking high in Google, your strategy needs to evolve if you want to rank for dentist searches in new platforms like Chat-GPT, Perplexity, and Google Gemini. Hi, I'm Frank Young, the Dental SEO consultant. I've helped hundreds of businesses like yours achieve first page rankings that lead to more calls and more business. In today's video, you'll learn the 3 steps necessary to be Chat-GPT's go-to recommended dentist. Let's get started with step number 1. Understand the new search landscape. While Google is still the most important search engine, new experiences such as Google AI Overviews, Google AI Mode, and ChatGPT are changing the way patients search. In addition to these platforms, you have Google's Gemini, Perplexity, Grok, and hundreds of others. Ranking in these new experiences requires an evolved search strategy that covers traditional search while also ensuring you are set up for the future of AI search, often referred to as GEO, Generative Experience Optimization. This brings me to step number 2. Conduct keyword research. Now, keyword research for AI platforms is not the same as keyword research for traditional search engines. We need a different approach due to the fact searches on platforms like ChatGPT tend to be longer and more in-depth than searches on Google. If we really want to understand how these platforms work, we need to analyze the types of searches people use on these platforms. Unfortunately, ChatGPT and others provide no visibility into the searches made on their websites, at least at this point. However, there are multiple ways to find these queries people are likely using on these platforms. Here's one such method I borrowed from Gotch SEO. First, open up Google Search Console for your website. Navigate to the Performance tab and select the query filter. Enter this regular expression, also mentioned in the description below. This will show you all the searches with 10 or more words people use to find your services on Google. These are the same searches people are likely making on ChatGPT. We simply export this list and select 50 of the most relevant keywords. This becomes our sample search list. We are now ready for step number 3, analyze search results. In short, we're going to run each of our sample searches through ChatGPT. There are 2 things we're going to look for. First, as we go through each result, we'll note the different sources cited such as Yelp, health grades, and other dental directories. I recommend using a table like this to enter your data. Second, we want to see what content ChatGPT is looking for to answer these sample queries and add these to a separate tab named Content Needs. Let's walk through an example of what this looks like for the search top-rated Delta Dental dentist for families in Leawood, Kansas. Okay, so the first thing we're going to evaluate is the citations. And for a search like the one here, there are going to largely be 2 types of citations. You'll have first-party citations, like the examples here, where ChatGPT is referencing dentist websites themselves. And then you'll have third-party citations. And for these searches, you'll largely see these in the sources panel, where we will go in and we'll notice that for this search, Delta Dental is being referenced, Yelp, health grades, we see ZocDoc, we see Facebook. These are the third-party sources that ChatGPT is going to and looking for information that it uses to determine who to show for a search like top-rated Delta Dental dentist. So if we want to be in the consideration set, one of the things we need to do is we need to be on these third-party sources. Now, the next step is to note the sources that you're seeing for this search as well as all the other example searches. So we would simply go over to our spreadsheet. We would note that Yelp is a source, Facebook is a source, health grades is a source, Delta Dental is a source. And then if there's another website that's not in our list, for example, we see dentistoffices.com here, I would go in and I would just add it, dentistoffices.com, and I would add an X. And that way we continue to build out our list as we go through these different queries. Okay, so the second thing we want to do is actually look at how ChatGPT is putting together these responses. The easiest way I've found to do this is to use ChatGPT 5's thinking mode. In essence, it gives you a summary of how it goes about putting together the results. And so there's interesting things that you can usually learn from this, such as content that's missing from your site that you need to be in the final consideration set. In other words, who ChatGPT shows to the user for a search like best Delta dental providers. And so in this example, you'll see that ChatGPT is actually using something called retrieval augmented generation, where instead of relying on its training data, it actually goes out and makes the search on search engines like Bing and Google. And it pulls together a list of different websites. We have first-party websites like Overland Park Dentist, Leo Dental, and then third-party directories like Healthgrades. So this is its consideration set, and then it goes through verifications. You can see that it's actually looking to see if there's mentions of in-network Delta Dental on the websites themselves. So a good example of this is Asha Dental is in the consideration set, and then it falls out because ChatGPT says that it doesn't mention Delta Dental directly. Now, if you go to Asha Dental's website, you'll see that they actually do have Delta Dental on their insurance page, but it's coded as an image. So my guess is that ChatGPT isn't looking into the alt text of the image. It's not processing the image, that you actually need to have Delta Dental in text, like here, in order for ChatGPT to find it. So that would be a content need that you would add to the content needs tab, where you would say that there needs to be a page about insurance, and it needs to mention each insurance provider in the copy, not in images. That way you can avoid, like Asha Dental, falling out of the consideration set and not being in the list of providers here. So that's just a good example of walking through the thought process of ChatGPT and learning something that you need to change on your site to ultimately improve your chances of falling in these top results here. You will then conduct this exercise for your 50 queries, noting citations and content needs for each. This gives you two things. First, the list of websites you need to be on to influence results. For example, it is obvious that if we want to be ranking in ChatGPT searches, we clearly need a strong presence on Yelp, Reddit, and Facebook. Second, the content updates you need to make on your website to improve your chances of appearing in results. Implementing these updates isn't difficult, but it does take time. If you're looking for someone to help offload this work, check out my website, thedentalseoconsultant.com. I work one-on-one with dentists, group practices, and large DSOs to implement custom tailored strategies unique to each individual organization. I only take on one new additional client per month, so submit your application today. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe for more AI-focused content specific to dentists. Talk to you soon.